Hello and welcome to Conversations with Aanika. Today my guest is Paulette Satur of Satur Farms. Paulette and her husband Eberhard have been small farmers for decades. They started Satur Farms as a labor of love, and they provide fresh produce to the New York City area, particularly leafy greens such as spinach, arugula, and mesclun. Thank you so much, Paulette, for sharing your insights into the world of small farming. So tell me a little bit about Satur Farms and how you started.
Well, my husband and I started Satur Farms 25 years ago. We never intended to have a commercial farm. At that point in time, Eberhard was chef at Lutece, and I was in the premium wine business in New York City. And I met him trying to sell him wine. He asked me out. I had no interest in dating a chef because I'm a morning person and I didn't want to have to hang out in restaurants in the evening. So I put him off a little bit, but we ended up meeting, marrying, and buying our farmland all in the same year. He said, well, that's exciting. We can grow some product from my restaurant. Well, his colleagues, other chefs, started asking us what we're growing. And also my wine customers, the restaurateurs, were asking what we were growing. They would buy anything we grew because at that point in time, there was no locally grown food movement. And a lot of the chefs with their European training were used to fresh product and specialty items. So we used to leave the dinner service at Lutece at midnight on Saturday nights, drive out to the farm on the North Fork, weed, seed, water, harvest, wash, pack product, put it in our SUV and drive up Park Avenue on Monday mornings early, making delivery drops to these customers. That's how we began, and it kind of blossomed into us now farming a little over 200 acres and having quite the business out of it full time for both of us. Here on the North Fork on Long Island, we do use well water, which we test routinely, and it's not surface water that has a greater chance of contamination.
So I'm going to switch gears a little and ask, in general, does traceability, because that's what Aanika's all about, does traceability benefit farmers, do you think? And is it important for customers to know where their food came from?
Absolutely. First of all, it's a requirement. We grow leafy greens, and it is required that you be able to trace everything from harvest date, lot, block number, so that who you shipped it to, when you shipped it to them. So in the event of an issue, it can be traced back to us. A lot of smaller farms might not be doing this. And actually, I sat on a Blue Ribbon Commission for traceability for New York State, and we came up with recommendations for New York State farmers to initiate this traceability. It's important for protection for the farm as well, because if there's an issue, one should be able to say, that was not my spinach. That's not where it came from. So it's protection, and protection is important.
Well, certainly, we've all heard about the recalls in the news. And do you imagine, would speeding up a recall investigation and making them more accurate be beneficial in this case?
Absolutely. I think that CDC, FDA, they struggle trying to trace issues that pop up, and many do on a daily basis. There are many of them. And it's hard for them to determine exactly where the source is so that it can be corrected and the product taken off the shelves. The idea that produce could be fingerprinted is just so exciting. If the tracing and the science is there, so that we can say with assuredness that this is the source, or this is not the source. Oh, it just cuts to the chase and creates efficiency in the recall and assurance with the consumer as well. So I think it's extremely exciting.
What's the impact of a recall on a small farmer?
It can be quite severe. We did experience a recall ourselves back in January 2019. And we ended up just in a 2-month period losing about 8.5% of our business as customers laid back until they gave us the clear. It's a very stressful time and costly. I can't remember how many years ago it was when Earthbound had a spinach recall. It hit the press big time. I don't think people ate spinach for a year, and it affected everybody. It had nothing to do with us or my neighbor or other large brands, yet people stopped eating the spinach. If the identity of the source can be made quickly, and so that the customers are assured, we wouldn't have this prolonged effect that does affect us all financially.
Do you think that there are areas where more insurance, if it could be made cost effective, would be helpful?
Yes, absolutely. So even with our own recall, I had no insurance for the product that was dumped or scrapped or recalled, and it was frustrating to us because the recall with the FDA became a national thing, and we don't ship nationally. Alarm and havoc, and people don't trust the food system as much if we're just carte blanche saying, oh, not to eat the spinach. It's a problem across the board.
Thank you so much, Paulette, for sharing your wisdom and insights today and giving us a window into the world of small local farming.